I usually start these reviews by talking about the big news that's come out of Raw or SmackDown this week. The big news that came out of Raw this week is Nia Jax's butthole is over. Yep, that's how I'm starting it. Great. For everyone who had Shane McMahon versus Drew McIntyre on their card for WrestleMania, rejoice, because the boy wonder is back. He opens the show with Adam Pearce and announces that at the Elimination Chamber, Drew McIntyre will defend the WWE Championship in the Chamber against Sheamus, The Miz, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles and, once again, Randy Orton. Big news and a big start to the show. From there, for me, Raw varied between okay and good. The opening match of AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy promised a lot but delivered very little due to an early kayfabe injury picked up by Jeff Hardy. The matches never really got going. The WWE announced matches sort of as and when they went along, not much was really done in advance, and it hurt the overall rhythm of the show. We had a lot of big segments with essentially a guaranteed one match per half hour that didn't really feel like we were advancing much. Storylines, however, were quite different. We saw Kofi Kingston return with the New Day taking on and defeating Flapjack and T-Bar of Retribution. Retribution really not picking up any momentum recently, but then on Raw Talk, Mustafa Ali spoke again and regained the momentum straight away, much the same way Samoa Joe would do. In the effort to finally build a card for Elimination Chamber, we had Ric Flair enter the ring and cut a promo, looking like he couldn't breathe. Initially I was worried, but then I remembered that this is Ric Flair, and if he can breathe in a promo, he's clearly not trying hard enough. He was able to explain what he explained on Raw Talk a couple of weeks ago as to why he is backing Lacey Evans, why he is trying to train a world champion in Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans as well playing down the sexual connotation with Ric Flair, which I feel cheapens the whole experience. Why would you have Ric Flair in your corner if you're not going to have sex with him? If I have Ric Flair in my corner, I'd be having sex with him. It's Ric Flair! Charlotte would interrupt this segment, as there is always interruptions in WWE. Lacey Evans would state that if she defeated Charlotte, she had been promised a match with Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship, which is potentially a very big deal for Lacey Evans. However, when it actually came down to it, Lacey did win by disqualification because Charlotte got a bit too handsy. Doesn't make Lacey Evans look particularly strong, I can't see her taking the title, and with the match at the Elimination Chamber rather than at WrestleMania, I can't see this changing much of anything. That said, this match does give Asuka something new to do, a new challenger at least, and someone who has been built. There is some logic to it, even if the storyline is not between Evans and Asuka at all. Edge came down to the ring and essentially said that now that we know something is happening at Elimination Chamber, there is no need for him to pick an opponent. The Miz, together with John Morrison and, curiously, Angel Garza, would come down to interrupt because it's WWE Raw and not a single promo can happen without an interruption. Edge would basically destroy Miz on the mic. This led to a match between Damian Priest with Bad Bunny in his corner, playing against Angel Garza with Miz and Morrison in his corner. Thankfully, Bad Bunny would essentially distract Miz and Morrison long enough for Angel Garza to get a little bit crushed. Once again, a big victory for Bad Bunny's Bunny. Said that the wrong way around. This is going to be a difficult tongue twister. Once again, a victory for the Bad Bunny Buddy. I'll need practice on that. See if you can say that. It's not easy. This also for me really shows one of the major problems with NXT, in that this time last year Angel Garza was the promising NXT recruit coming up and making a big impact, and now he's the guy being fed to the promising NXT recruit coming up and making a big impact. Essentially we had this cycle of lower mid-card guys who've come up from NXT, got a push, and then been used to feed someone else who's come up from NXT and got a push. A year from now, I can only imagine we're going to see Damian Priest being fed to Adam Cole, maybe. Adam Cole, maybe. Shouldn't be allowed to speak sometimes. Charlie Caruso interviewed Bianca Belair backstage, and Bianca Belair highlighted that she also, like Edge, still has a choice to make. While we were waiting to see who she would be interrupted by, she was interrupted by Asuka, because it's WWE Raw and nobody can actually finish a promo. The two would tease some tension, but for me it never felt like there was any tension because they both had a laugh at Lacey Evans' expense. Kinda pointless. We opened the third hour with a promising match between Matt Riddle and Keith Lee, and for me this was a very good match of the night, quite easily. The two played off each other very well, Keith Lee really leaning into his power game to show why he was there. Meanwhile, Riddle showed a lot of counter-attack, a lot of wriggling as it were, out of positions, and showed that he is still able to deliver even though he did lose this match clean as you like. After the match, Bobby Lashley would come down, beat the hell out of both of them, and this, somehow, results in a triple threat match between Matt Riddle, Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley at the Elimination Chamber for the United States Championship. I suspect Matt Riddle is only there to save the one-on-one match for WrestleMania. It is a good spot for Keith Lee to be in, not a great spot for Matt Riddle, whose push vanished a long time ago apparently, and it does for Keith Lee go a long way to fixing the problems that he had when he was called up and got no finish, or just lost by DQ. He has not had a very strong start on the main roster. This match should go a long way to fixing this, and they did want to get him into the United States Championship picture a while ago. The WWE played a pretty big hype package of the Drew McIntyre vs Randy Orton feud so far, which is very helpful essentially as a main event hype segment, because the WWE know these are the moments when they lose the most viewers. The beginning of the third hour is a killer segment, and when it comes to drawing power, they decided to put Riddle and Keith Lee there, and I'm not sure personally that's the drawing potential that they want. That would have been an ideal time for an Alexa Bliss appearance, but she did not appear tonight. We then got on to a tables match between Nia Jax and Lana that I'm going to refer to as the Nia Jax Butthole Invitational, because essentially that's what happened. Lana got beat up a lot, got hit with the new big finisher a lot, and then is able to throw Nia Jax out of the ring, firmly planting her on her own butthole, then push her through a table at ringside to pick up the win. Lana got the win. Shayna Baszler afterwards would attack the two of them. This led to a match with Naomi in which Shayna Baszler, distracted by Lana on the outside, by which I mean she distracted herself with Lana on the outside, was rolled up by Naomi as she came back into the ring for the 1-2-3. The fact that both contenders won here suggests to me that they will not be winning the tag team championships. It's also very telling, as usual, that Naomi is now getting her mandatory 3-month push before vanishing again. I really hope they stick with her for once. Our final match and main event was Drew McIntyre vs Randy Orton, which did not deliver. A large part of this is we all knew the finish would be dodgy as hell, and within a couple of minutes Sheamus was already there at ringside waiting for his moment. The match itself wasn't bad and was played at a good pace, however everyone was waiting for Sheamus to come in. He eventually would attack Randy Orton accidentally, aiming for Drew McIntyre apparently, and then get claymored. The bell would ring, nobody knew what actually happened, but it was over. It was just over. It seems to me like someone missed their cue because they were really struggling for time at the end. The WWE tried some different things this week. Segments ran longer, certain people were used in different orders, and rivalries were switched up or mixed up in a way by adding, for example, Angel Garza and Keith Lee to established rivalries. There are also a number of people who usually feature that did not this week, for example Elias, Ricochet, people that we have come to expect, at least in some degree, week in, week out, who were not there. I would say that it was brave of WWE to try this, and in some ways it did succeed. I'm happy to see Angel Garza back on my screen. I'm happy to see Keith Lee back on my screen and used in the way that he has been. These are very interesting elements to me, so I applaud them for that. However, the fact that WWE, for the main event at least, went back to the old school playbook and just did what everyone expected, and a repeat of it at that, sours it a little bit for me. I would say that this was a good show, and I think I'm being generous for that. It is an upgrade on previous weeks, and a good sign of things to come. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I've been Tom Colohue. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you can, and I will see you next time.